So Jason Momoa is reportedly quitting Aquaman, which means that she is done with Warner Brothers. There's no future as Mira. There's no future really with Aquaman. And what's amazing is that the people that are doing these moves, they were once huge shills for You know, people like Peter Safran, the guy who said, we will never bow to fan pressure. We were always planning to keep on with Aquaman 2. Yeah, it looks like that has changed. It has changed dramatically. They're taking Jason Momoa out and they're leaving out as they try to move on. Now, there is a lot to add to this too, and you and I, we are going to discuss it all today. And to make this very clear, it is being picked up by every major and minor outlet out there. And James Gunn himself, he's going to sound off on all of this stuff too. Yeah, I guess this is what happens when almost 5 million people speak up. They say they don't want to see your product. They need changes or else. And you tell them no. You and I, we're going to talk about it all today too. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. All right, so hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day. By the way, I hope you are doing excellently. Abandoning Aquaman, a multi-billion-dollar franchise, moving Jason Momoa over to a new character so he gets a new slate, and blacklisting You would have never thought this discussion would happen. And what's interesting are some of the people that are involved and the places that are kicking this off. I mean, you have the Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter is a giant shill. I mean, they've been doing damage control for her for years now. So for them to report anything that sounds remotely bad for I mean, that is pretty much unheard of. And again, you have people like Peter Safran. Peter Safran went to bat for He was the highest position of authority in Warner Brothers to do so. Now he's one of the people in charge. Well, we're hearing from Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, that many movies are not going forward in DC. As DC, they hit a turning point. Essentially, they're going to abandon things that they don't think are going to work anymore. They're going to carry forward with what was there before, but they're going to turn the page. And one of the page turns that they talk about and that gets followed up with insiders throughout Hollywood into the media is a shocking one. Why? Because this would spell the end of the Aquaman franchise. And I think about that franchise too. That franchise, it makes over $1 billion in 2018 just in the theaters alone. So you have this huge success. Then you have 2. It's been delayed. You have the person that is in charge of Warner, the big boss, unhappy with it. He wants changes to it. He hates the movie right now. Now you have discussion on top of that about taking Jason Momoa, the main character, Aquaman, the reason that it has success, taking him out of that, making him a brand new character. Yeah, they're telling you that this movie, it is done. The franchise, it is done. And there is only one reason that this could happen. And that reason would be the reason that they're leaving behind in They're not talking about taking her, putting her in a new movie. And again, this would end the franchise. So Aquaman 2, if they don't pay to fix that, she ends up in it. That's it. Now, this story is so big that James Gunn himself comes in to do damage control for Warner Brothers. And what's fascinating is that he admits that there are big problems within Warner Brothers. Big problems that have to do with the audience. You know exactly what he's talking about here. He's talking about movies like Aquaman, and he tells you, well, we're going to continue what works, and we're going to rectify what not. Listen to these 2 parts right here. There's more statement, but I thought these really jumped out. Peter and I chose to helm DC Studios knowing we were coming into a fractious environment, both in the stories being told and in the audience itself. Again, fractured there. You have problems. Yes, People have lost faith in this studio, and, well, Peter Safran, he was one of those reasons. And there would be an unavoidable transition period as we moved into telling a cohesive story across film, TV, animation, and gaming. But in the end, the drawbacks of that transition period were dwarfed by the creative possibilities and the opportunity to build upon what has worked in DC so far and to help rectify what is not. And when I see statements like that, it makes me wonder what really hasn't worked out. Well, there's a huge glaring issue that has not worked out with DC, a certain actress that hasn't. Yeah, all this talk about abandoning, all this talk about leaving things by the wayside, not being happy with movies, you see their name printed all over it. Now, what's interesting is that Warner Brothers has indeed confirmed that Aquaman is a problem for them too. I mean, if you go and you look at the Aquaman movie official site, this was here to hype Aquaman, but it was also hyping Aquaman too. Yeah, they don't do anything like that anymore at all. This is an official site as well. You see the verification here. You'll notice this is the old type of verification that Twitter used. This isn't the new type you buy for $8. Warner Brothers would have had to reach out. They would have had to say, yes, this is us. This is ours. We're using it in official capacity. Well, if you skip past the pin post was about Aquaman coming out on 4K. That was all the way back in 2019. Look at the prior post. This comes up February the 11th, 2022. So we're talking about close to a year has already passed before they've done anything with this. Look at what they were promoting then. It wasn't Aquaman. They were trying to use this page to promote Batman. They got 691 likes on it, 235 comments. Many of those comments are about Aquaman and AH. In fact, the last two things that they promoted had nothing to do with Aquaman either. They haven't promoted Aquaman since October 16th, 2021. They did this with DC Fandom. DC Fandom was the last time they did it too because it was such a failure. I mean, people kept asking about AH, asking about what the plans were, asking about JD and on, and they haven't hyped it since. They've moved it back. They don't talk about it at Comic-Cons. They know that this thing is a problem, and now they're talking about pulling Jason Momoa. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. This is crazy, though. Oh, it's something else. Thank you for being here, too. Appreciate you. Want to help out the channel? Links are in the description. We could always use your help with that. You being here, though, that is the biggest help of all. So thank you. Appreciate you. End it here. See you soon.